God is not afraid of challenge. He has planted his flag on this ground.
This is the Garden of Eden. This is the original Promised Land.
But I have raised you up for this very purpose, that I might show you my power, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth.
He made a covenant that people doesn't know. You know with whom? With the land of Israel.
I am Dr. Erez Soref. I was born and raised in the heart of Israel, but I never heard the gospel message until, on a journey abroad, my eyes were opened to the Jewish Messiah. From that point, my life has been dedicated to bringing this gospel back to my people Israel, equipping them to reach Israel and the world. Together, as Jews and Gentiles, we are one in Messiah, one for Israel.
In this series, we have been asking the question, why Israel? We have seen that God's relationship with my people is a marriage, an eternal covenant of immeasurable love. But marriage is not just a ceremony. It's also about a new home together, coming into a new place. And the place that God brought his people was this land. The land of Israel is greater than just nationality, greater than the modern conflict. It's God's stake in the ground, God's standard. It's the place where God says he would rally his troops, and the place where the battle will be waged. God created this nation as his line in the sand, a flagpole in the ground. It's a place where the faithful can pursue, and a place for Satan to attack. In the United States, the national anthem speaks of a flag, a banner, standing after a fierce battle, rocket fire illuminating its presence as a sign of hope for those still fighting. This star-spangled banner marked that ground and gave hope for the land of the free, the home of the brave. In the heat of battle, a standard bearer was one who raised the flag so that soldiers would know their position. The flag would be a rallying place for the troops. If they were behind enemy lines, they needed to know the direction of home. The standard bearer had significant risk. They were the most visible. They had a target on their back. In the law of Moses, Israelite men are commanded to have tassels on the corner of their garments. They serve as a reminder of the commandments, a mark of ownership, an identifier as God's people. But sadly, many Jews today that wear these tassels or wear a yarmulke or even speak Hebrew outside of Israel have also become aware that they are marking themselves. The tassels are a banner, but also a target on their back that invites hatred and even attack. Scripture is clear that God has not only marked my people in a special way, but he's also marked this very land in a special way. He has planted his flag on this ground. He made the eternal promise to Abraham, "To you I will give this land." You may be familiar with the image from Iwo Jima in World War II, where Americans planted their flag after many days of fighting. And at the end of our 1967 war, Israeli soldiers famously planted the flag in the holy city, Jerusalem. These are signs of hope and home. It's taking the hill, putting a stake in the ground, and claiming territory. We've been exploring God's covenant as a marriage, his eternal love story with Israel. But marriage itself is a battle. Paul told husbands and wives to come together so they can resist Satan's attack. It was when Adam and Eve were separated that the enemy was able to infiltrate. In Ephesians, Paul told husbands and wives how to treat each other and then launched into his instructions for spiritual warfare. And in Revelation, the divine wedding feast comes after a fierce battle. Marriage is one of those stakes in the ground that God uses. Just as he's married to his people, he's also married to this land. The word home can mean different things. Home is where you live, where you've put down roots. But if you live far from your place of origin, where you grew up, or where your extended family is, home may also be that place you return to. Perhaps you live in one city, but you take an annual trip to visit home, where your parents or grandparents live miles away. For the people of Israel, this land is our home. In Bible times, wherever an Israelite lived, whether on the borders of this land or in a faraway country, the males would make a journey 3 times a year to come home, back to the capital, Jerusalem. As they would come, they would sing Psalms 120 to 134, the songs of ascent. These psalms would talk of hope, of joy and gladness. They were coming home to Mount Zion. Home was the place where God put His presence, the touch point of heaven on earth, the temple. We often think of God as everywhere, and this is true. Heaven and earth cannot contain Him. But often in Scripture, He also localizes His presence in a particular place. This land, this city, this temple is that place. 3 times a year, the pilgrims would ascend God's mountain. Aliyah is the Hebrew word for ascent, going up. When Jewish people immigrate to Israel today, it's called Aliyah. Like those pilgrims in ancient times, they're not going to a foreign land. The return of the Jewish people has been prophesied in Scripture more times than I can recount here. They're going home. They're going up to a place of refuge. Israel is the Holy Land. Holy meaning set apart. It's the place God has set apart for Himself. The place where God puts His flag, His standard. It's a place for the rest of the world to look in awe and say, that's where God and His people dwell. It's a place for the nations to come and get wisdom, like the Queen of Sheba did with Solomon, where the word goes forth from Zion to the world. It's a place to receive. When a Gentile, Naaman, came to the land of Israel to be healed of leprosy, the prophet Elisha told him to dip 7 times in the river Jordan. Naaman came out clean, and he wanted to give Elisha a gift for healing him. When Elisha refused, Naaman begged him to let him take as much earth as 2 mules could carry. He took the land with him. He recognized that this land is God's holy possession, the place of blessing. When Israel gathered in this land, it was called the assembly of the Lord. There is a type of safety when the faithful pursue this place. Even for followers of Yeshua today, it's so important for the faithful to come together. Streaming a service online or hearing the word on TV is great, but God intended us to live in community, to be part of a body, an assembly. Why? Because there are outside forces that also desire to stake their claim in your life and in this land. And it's in the assembly of the Lord that we're not just a community, but an army. This is the most contentious land in the world. Building an apartment in Jerusalem can be an act of war. If this is God's land that He watches over as He would a bride, then why has there always been so much fighting and bloodshed here? Why is the mountain of the Lord topped with a mosque and not a temple? But even as there is safety in His promised place, God also invites danger. This is not only the gathering place for His faithful, but the place of the enemy's attack. Not only does God put down His flagpole here, but Satan and all his forces also try to put down their stake in this land. God is not afraid of challenge. Before the Israelites inhabited this land, the Canaanites lived here. And God said He would wait until their sin became so overwhelmingly obvious before He cast them out. And when God began His judgments and plagues on Pharaoh, He told him, "But I have raised you up for this very purpose, that I might show you my power, and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth." God often invites His enemies to stand against Him, to show the world how truly evil is and how truly good God is, that his power and glory would be known in the whole earth. From the beginning, he cursed the serpent, the enemy of mankind, by saying there would be enmity against the woman's seed. And in the end, prophets tell of him putting hooks in the jaws of his enemies, gathering all the nations to Har Megiddo. It will be in this land he will fight for his people. As we know, God has no pleasure in the death of the wicked. He's calling all to repent, but love often constrains him to war for his beloved. He is not afraid of the fight. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Today we are talking with a man who has seen firsthand how God has intervened and fought for his people Israel, Aryeh Bar David, a veteran of the Six-Day and Yom Kippur Wars.
I was born in Israel, in Mount Olives. I'm one of 7 children, 6 brothers, 1 sister to my father and my mother. And we are considered to be the first Jewish believers family in this country. When I finished high school, it was the school for music in those days. In this year, 1965, it was in the air that a war is going to start, Syria and Egypt. And I felt I cannot stand and play music, and we are entering to a war. And I decided to take part. I found myself very short time after this fighting in what we call Six-Day War. First time in a war, it makes you so mature. Several things will change on all the next part of my life. And I would like to give you example to one of these situations. The commanders of the Egyptian army ran away from Sinai back to Egypt, and they left the soldiers like sheep with no shepherd. So he decided to do something. So they made a kind of brochure, and they wrote very simple. If they will continue north, they will arrive to the train trail, and we will help them to cross the Suez Canal to the other side. But it ended terrible, and they judged them to death. Why? Because they gave up to the Israeli army. Wow, it broke me. And this conflict that I help my enemy helps me, and at the end, his people are killing him. So who is your enemy? In Yom Kippur War, there something happened. We are gathering the paratroopers. We crossed the Suez and we started very, very hard battle. And when we arrived 10 meters from them, all of us got bullets. Rami, that was like 1 meter from me, he got bullet here, and this was my friend. I am now the commander. I'm starting walking to them, so the Egyptians are shooting me. Hundreds of bullets, shooting. I knew that no one of these bullets can touch me. I knew God has other plans with my life. I'm with around 32 soldiers, actually. All are wounded. Suddenly, somebody came to me, very, very tall man. It was total dark, I couldn't even recognize, but he was very high officer. I command you to take care about bringing the force back. I told him, look, I have no idea where I am, but I believe that God will show me the way, and we will do it. I'm seeing in front of me, in the horizon, a light. This was stronger than any light that you can imagine. And I felt that I don't control myself anymore, that the light is giving me commands. Run, run! And I'm shouting, run! And we are running with all the wounds, And just where we have been, like 2, 3 bombs fall, it's like earthquake. And people started crying, how did you know? I say, the light. I repeated the light. You know the story of Saul, and you know what happened to him on the road to Damascus. He saw a light, a great light. I saw a light like this, and I can say this light changed my life. War can bring you to situations that you can feel God so close, so miraculous, that you have no control on the situation at all. And why my connection was so strong to this country. One word, important word, and the word in Hebrew is brit. The right word in English will be covenant. God made britot in plural, covenants, with Adam, with Noah, with Abram, Isaac, Jacob, David, Yeshua. He made a covenant that people doesn't know. You know with whom? With the land of Israel. This is the only covenant which was done not with man, but with a land. And what the land? The land of Israel. The point is to know in what way you can serve. And the moment you give your life to serve him, you are not worried. But this is my truth.
When Hamas launched an attack on my nation on October 7th, 2023, they called their operation Al-Aqsa Flood. Al-Aqsa is their name for the Temple Mount. They named their heinous crime after the mountain they wanted to completely dominate, to plant their flag, where Satan wants to rule the world, but where God will sit enthroned forever. Hamas named their plan the slaughter of civilians, Al-Aqsa Flood. But Isaiah says that when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise a standard against them. There is a spiritual war over this land. There is no natural logic, no giving land for peace. God put a banner here, staked his claim, and Satan will forever war against it until he's thrown into the lake of fire. He will not win. God promised this land to Abraham and his descendants, and he is powerful enough to enforce his promise, no matter what any man or demon has to say about it. We are in a fight, and God invites you to be part of that fight. Our weapons are not carnal, but mighty before God for pulling down strongholds. Prayer is a powerful part of our warfare for this land. We offer a 31-day prayer guide that can help you pray into what God is doing right now. To download, just visit oneforisrael.org/pray. In the beginning, God formed man and woman and brought them together in the first marriage. He chose them to be human rulers as his representatives over all creation. He placed them in a strategic location, in a garden, a place that he himself watered, a chosen land. This is the same language God used to describe the land of Israel, a place that God specifically cared for always. Adam tended the garden, caring for the plants and trees. As he married Adam and Eve, he gave a blessing and a command. Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it and rule. God gave them the mandate to bring not only the garden, but the whole earth under God's dominion. But instead, Satan gained a foothold in Eden, conquered Adam, and brought him under his dominion. The garden was God's stake in the ground, his holy place, the place where his faithful, chosen ones could eat life from a tree and could extend the borders across the world. But it was also a place where the enemy was allowed to attack. Satan may have won a battle, but he didn't win the war. God said he would put enmity between him and a son of the woman. The son would crush his head and he would pierce his heel. The fight was on. Today, I'm sitting down with One for Israel's academic dean, Dr. Seth Postel, to explore the profound connections between the Garden of Eden and the land of Israel. Hi, Seth. Thank you so much for joining me. I wanted to ask for your opinion. You know, the Garden of Eden was the first, quote unquote, promised land, a land that God personally cared for. What do you think about that?
You know, Genesis 1 through 3 is very much not just an introduction to the Torah, it's really an introduction to the entire Bible. And if you look at the role of the Garden of Eden can only be understood when you look at it in the light of the larger story. And so it's remarkable that creation is like the preparation of a temple. The function of the temple is you need a Holy of Holies. God needs a place to dwell. Genesis 1 is the building, as it were. But then you have Genesis chapter 2, and Genesis chapter 2 and 3 is the Holy of Holies. The Garden of Eden is this very unique place within the temple of creation. But what's also really remarkable is that you look at the ways in which, for instance, God creates this special land or this special place, Eden. It says that God brings Adam in and rests him in the garden. The same language used in Deuteronomy for God bringing and resting his people in the land. Adam's staying in the garden is conditioned over keeping a commandment, Israel. I mean, this is all Israel. Israel's brought into the land, this special land where God dwells with his people. Israel's staying in the land was conditioned upon them keeping the commandments. Adam meets this original inhabitant of the garden, the serpent who starts to tempt him, or tempt Eve, right? The same thing with the Canaanites. Yes. And so what you really see is the Garden of Eden is directly associated with the promised land. And this land then becomes absolutely critical to everything else that God does. This land, not just the world, the land itself has to be under the maintenance of Adam and Adam's descendant. I've heard people say Israel's no longer important, the land of Israel is no longer important. It's kind of absurd because if you look at the former prophets, it's really interesting that you have two specific places marked out as key for the Messiah. Bethlehem, right? And obviously that was a literal Bethlehem in his birth. And then you have the Mount of Olives, right? At his return. And so why does the Messiah need to come back here? Because this is the Garden of Eden. This is the original promised land. It's from this land that God has to reign over the entire world. When Eden is under his control, the entire world will be under his control.
So there's much to say about this that I want to ask, but you actually wrote the book on this called Adam as Israel.
Correct.
Right? And so talking about Adam and Eve, so the Garden of Eden that represents the land of Israel is the temple, you know, God's Holy of Holies. So what is the role of Adam and Eve?
In chapter 1, they're described as king and queen. They're called to rule. In chapter 2, if you look at the ways in which he's functioning within the garden, he's a priest, right? And so Adam is both king and priest. Israel is called to be a kingdom of priests. And so Adam's role in the garden foreshadows Israel's role as a people to be a kingdom of priests. And then we bring that to the Messiah, Yeshua, who is in himself both king and priest. And so, again, because he is king and priest, it means that he will rule over the world from the land of Israel, and he will also provide the access we need to the presence of God.
Now, we mentioned that the garden, and in parallel Israel, the land of Israel, is supposed to be a place of rest where God rules and so on. But the last couple of years have been probably the hardest. You know, there always seems to be struggle. Even though that's God's place, there always seems to be struggle. And going back to the garden, you know, the serpent was allowed. So how does that play out?
A friend of mine used to say, and I agree with him, whatever God especially loves, Satan especially hates. This is where God is going to bless the entire world. It's from this land that God's going to ultimately defeat the serpent. And so there's a real battle. It's like Satan hates all of humanity, but it seems to me that he especially hates this land and this people, again, because of God's plan of blessing, God's plan of redemption. But God is going to ultimately defeat evil, and in this land there will be rest.
Now, why did God tell Adam to subdue the earth?
He was intended to subdue the serpent, and he didn't. He abdicated the ground, and he was kicked out, and he was exiled. That exile ended up with his descendants in Babylon in Genesis chapter 11, which is, again, Israel's story. Because Adam abdicated his role to subdue, to conquer the serpent, we're paying for it.
Thank you so much, Seth. This has been very fascinating, and I look forward to chatting again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Think about when you put your stake in the ground and followed Yeshua. That's when a warfare began, when we started going against the tide. And when that battle rages, Hebrews 12 encourages us to look to Yeshua, our standard bearer. Just like the Israelites prayed and looked toward Jerusalem, we can pray and look toward the author and perfecter of our faith, what He's done and still doing for us. Our experiences in Him and past moments of encounter become a banner we can look back on. If He's done it before, He can do it again. It's like when Moses and the Israelites fought their first battle and won their first victory. They built an altar. It was a place of remembrance of what God has done, a mark on that ground. And they named the altar Adonai Nissi, the Lord is my banner. But there is something even more profound about God's relationship with this particular land. Not just any dwelling place for His people. This is His bride. The prophet Isaiah said something remarkable. The Lord will take delight in you, and your land will be married. What does it mean for the land itself to be married to God? How does geography enter into covenant relationship with the Creator? And what does this reveal about the unbreakable nature of His promises to you? Next time, we'll explore this deeper mystery of God's covenant with the land itself and discover why this little strip in the Middle East remains at the center of God's plan for the world. We'll continue to ask the question, why Israel?